Welcome to another episode of our Mental Health Moments. My name is Linda Golick. I am the Health and Wellness Consultant at Amplify Health by Bellin, and I am so pleased to be joined again by two of my favorite people, licensed behavioral health therapists Hannah Bauer and Michaela Vandenboom. Hi, ladies.
Hello, how are you?
How are we doing today?
We are doing well.
Good. We are recording this on a dreary, almost spring kind of day. So we're gonna bring the energy and see what we can discuss for you today. So today, really an interesting topic. So we wanted to explore a little bit in terms of mental health, people's coping mechanisms and why people cope the way they do, where it comes from, when it's healthy, when it's unhealthy. And so our next campaign that we're really focusing on is called Escape from Reality, Searching for Relief When Life Feels Overwhelming. And I don't know about you all, but there definitely are some moments where life feels overwhelming, does it not?
Yes.
So let's talk about that. When we think about kind of that escape from reality, why? Why do people search to escape their reality? Why are we prone to do that? Hannah, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I think that, if we're being honest with ourselves, I think we all have a threshold for what we can really tolerate, what we can do well, what we can navigate through with the tools that we have. And sometimes we're thrown so much that we are not really anticipating, expecting, prepared for. We get very overwhelmed, right? And when that happens, like our instinct is just to like fix what we can, but also like we kind of want to retreat. So I think it's just kind of leaning in towards that and being like, okay, like this is a lot. I don't know what to do. I don't know what kind of change I can affect. What else can I look at? What can give me some joy? What can give me a break? What can maybe let me recuperate so then I feel a little bit more capable of handling the task at hand?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Michaela?
I definitely agree with everything that Hannah said, but I also think you need to think of the perspective of like the all or nothing viewpoint of that too,
Mhm.
right? Like some people don't have the threshold and they're like, this is too much. I can't
Yes.
consume it. So boom, we're done. And I'm gonna do
Mhm.
everything possible in my power to do anything that's not the task or managing whatever the stressful event is. So that's a lot of times people just fall into the patterns of my coping, my escaping, whatever that might be, is literally ignoring everything that I shouldn't be
Right.
ignoring.
Yeah, and
What does that
mistaking
look
like
like then?
escaping for coping.
Yeah, so what does that look like then if people really go, to the far end? What does that show up as? How do we see that in ourselves or in others?
I mean,
I
that
mean,
can be sorry, Hannah.
no, go ahead,
That
go
can be
ahead.
a variable of different things, right? Like something so small can easily turn into something that's snowballed into something so much bigger, whether that be, okay, we have a big financial thing that we are stressed with. And I've literally had patients that are like, that's too much for me. I'm not touching that at all. We're sending that to collections because I don't want to think about it, right?
Mhm.
Then we snowball into a giant financial strain and a place that we never thought we'd see ourselves. Or we begin coping with food and going seeking the comfort there, and that gets out of hand, and suddenly we're in a place either like physically or health wise that we didn't want to be maybe a month prior because we've let those habits kind of take control of us.
Yeah, it's just like that avoidance piece where it's like, well, I don't want to, we're going to table this, and a
Mhm.
lot of the times, like when I'm talking with people, it's not that they are going to explicitly say like, oh, I don't want to deal with this at all. They're just like, oh, I'm not ready yet. Or like these things haven't fallen into place yet. So I'm going to do something else that I know I'll enjoy. And then maybe by that time, then I'll be ready to talk about this. And it just, like you said, it just continues to snowball and then it's never talked about. Somehow things get worse. And then it's just like, well, that's too much. Well, then I can't deal with this. And then it's, on to the next thing that makes you feel good because that feels more comfortable than dealing with something that is overwhelming. A lot of it is just working on that distress tolerance. Like not everything is going to feel great. Not everything you're going to know exactly how to do or even have a path to do something with, but like being able to confront and just sit with, okay, this is uncomfortable, but this is what we're dealing with. That's a skill that I think sometimes, people don't necessarily want to learn because it is scary and it doesn't feel good. and everyone is stressed.
And identifying what your capacity is, right? Like some people don't want to touch it because it's scary and it's overwhelming and uncomfortable. But even if it's just slightly a slight change
Yes.
compared to where we're at, if that's your capacity, that's okay. At least you're moving in the right
Yes.
direction.
Yeah. And, like you said previously too, it's not all or nothing. It's not like you tackle this and then you're on to the next thing. It can be just like looking at it, like reading through it or like something adjacent to that, just to take those small steps. It doesn't have to be completely solve this problem before you feel better. It can be something small.
One of the things I'm hearing from you both is just the idea of like that early recognition, maybe starting to do something with some types of things before they're way out of control, before they snowball. So how do we start to recognize that? How do we start to recognize when we might be coping with some of our stressors, some of our issues in life, some of the overwhelm in unhealthy ways? How do we start to recognize that?
Well, unfortunately, in our situation, a lot of the times people don't recognize it until they're already too far in it. I mean, ideally, we'd like to be like, yeah, I'm not doing XYZ the way I should be. And I know that I'm maybe spending a little bit too much time watching TV, or maybe not getting enough rest. So I'm consuming too much caffeine and that's creating that cycle. But a lot of times, I mean, I can speak for myself. I'm sure Hannah too. Like we get the people that come to us and say, these are the concerns that are going on in our lives. And then we back it up and say, well, have you probably recognized that maybe this is a pattern that you have developed or adapted because we're avoiding something else?
Right. I think, in an ideal world, yeah, people have the time to stop and reflect and question why they're doing things. But, realistically, usually that ship has sailed and then we're kind of dealing with the aftermath. And then it's just, okay, like, what can I do to reduce, the harm caused or the destruction caused? It's, and that's not that anyone's doing anything wrong. That's just the nature in which we are living. Like things happen really fast and we have a lot of responsibilities and expectations. We don't really have the luxury of having, even self-care, right? Like a lot of times like us taking care of ourselves kind of falls to the back burner because we feel like there's so much more that we need to be doing. So yeah, again, I think it'd be nice, and we try to guide people in that direction of like, okay, like you do have the space to slow down a little bit. Like maybe ask yourself a question or just check in and see how are you feeling? What is overwhelming? But yeah, the most likely, especially in our situation, is people are coming to us after that has already happened and after there's already a problem.
What would your words of recommendation be, for our audience today? I would think 99.9% of people that listen or tune in, maybe feeling stressed or overwhelmed in some way, shape, or form, and they may be escaping from their reality in what may seem like harmful, unharmful ways. It could be food, it could be caffeine, it could be taking a Tylenol PM to help themselves sleep, things like that. Just what are your words of wisdom to just kind of help people tune into themselves and how they can just kind of, watch out for things that might be doing them harm, even if it may seem like it isn't the case today.
I think important piece to ask yourself is if you are doing something or fallen into a habit or routine, asking the question of, if I were to not do this or remove this from my life, how would that impact or influence everything else? So if it's going to be extremely detrimental, then you probably can make the decision of like, hey, I've let this go too far. I've become dependent on whatever this is. And how can I then change that or make a step forward into the right direction? I think a lot of the times, you ask, like I ask people, what are your coping skills? What are the things you do? And a lot of times people are like, I don't have any coping skills. What are those? And it's really like, if you just look at what are the things that help you slow down or ground yourself, or things that you enjoy, things that allow you to prioritize you or your time, that's a coping skill. It doesn't have to be any extravagant thing that you need to go study and learn. Honestly, just putting something positive in your routine and not having a negative detrimental effect is a coping skill.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, a lot of the times when you're talking with people, like, they don't realize what they're doing is a coping skill or a coping mechanism at all. It's just like what they do. So sometimes if you ask them, yeah, they're like, I don't do anything. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's like, okay, how do you fall asleep? Like, what is your routine? What are the things that you do that help you to sleep well? What are the things that you do to, start your day off on the right foot? Like, what do you do if you're frustrated? How do you calm yourself down? And just being patient with ourselves and reflective and looking at, like, what do I do to make sure I can get through the day? And just starting there. Like, those are some of those coping mechanisms. And then asking ourselves, like, is this actually helping? Right? If I take this away, do things get worse? And if they do, is there a substitute? If there's not, like, how can maybe I maximize this coping skill or this coping mechanism? And is it causing any harm? It takes time, but teasing apart some of the things we do and just asking ourselves, like, why am I doing this? And is it helpful?
So then also then, what would be your recommendations for positive coping? Because, I always say to people, your stress is not going to go away. I don't care who you are or what kind of life you lead. You're always going to have stressors. There's always going to be things that overwhelm you. So what would be some positive coping mechanisms that people could look at turning to?
Honestly, I think just taking care of your physical wellness, like the
Yeah.
simplest things, eating well,
Mhm.
getting outside, getting some fresh air, getting some steps in, prioritizing your sleep.
Mhm.
Those are honestly the biggest things that you could probably be doing to take
Yeah.
care of yourself. And then I often tell people too, make a list of your priorities and something that is
Mhm.
detrimental and absolutely needs to be done. Sure, put that on the top. But if it can wait a little bit, don't stress. It'll get done when it gets done, right? Like, don't
Yes.
stress that because you're not doing yourself any favor. What benefit is it to worry about that in the immediate moment when it's not something that needs to be done for 2 weeks?
Right. Yeah. And even to, like, I think the idea of self-care seems cumbersome because it feels like, okay, I have to add this and I have to have this and then I have to buy this thing and like do this whole routine when really it can be small.
Mhm.
And yeah, I usually, like, I try to recommend people, like, write things down so you can see what you feel like you have to get done. And if there is something at the top of that list that you are dreading, like, pair a coping skill with that. Pair even like a reward that's something that's small. Maybe you take an extra 10 minutes to get home and you listen to your favorite music, like something little just to make those tasks that we all have to do that we hate a little bit more tolerable.
Yeah, and I love the idea of like, yeah, tune into your own wellness
Mhm.
because certainly you can't expect yourself to perform at the highest level possible if you're not taking care of what your body and your mind really need. And that is sleep and nutrition and movement and all the things we always talk about. That is powerful to just make sure that you're trying to prioritize that. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It can be a
Oh.
10-minute walk outside. It
Mhm.
can be, wow, I haven't had a vegetable today. I need to make sure that I get in a vegetable at my next meal. I mean,
Mhm.
Mhm.
things like that. I always
Right.
encourage people, start small,
Mhm.
don't feel like you
Yes.
have to do everything. And the weather's getting warmer, we're getting more daylight. I mean, good opportunities
Yes.
to get outside. I
Mhm.
think that's very healing for people as well. So, well, I think this was just a great topic to explore a bit with the two of you, based upon your experiences and people that you talk to every day, just hearing how you help, people navigate. How am I coping? What's the better way to cope? How do I keep going? So super helpful information. Any parting thoughts today, ladies? Anything else that you want to add to the topic that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I don't think so. Yeah, just do your best to take care of yourself. That's probably about it. It's hard enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. One day at a time sometimes too. One
Yes.
one moment
One
at a
moment.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks to the two of you. Always such a pleasure to talk to you. I always feel like it fills my cup when we get to do these recordings and share them with our population. So, for everyone else, thanks for tuning in today. Please like, subscribe, share this podcast, and we'll see you next time.